Hello, beautiful friend.
Oh my goodness. Hello.
Wow.
You're here. You made
I,
it.
holy cow, we're doing a podcast, Gigs. Holy shit. Wowzers.
I, I know, right? It's not. Let's not call it a podcast. Let's just call it a conversation.
We're having, we're
Something, something.
having,
Sorry?
we're having a fun conversation.
Yeah, that's what's happening right now. Oh my God, it's been such a journey. Jesus, Mary, Mother.
It has a crazy journey.
Where are you now? What are you up to? This is how we're gonna do this. I don't know. There's no subject in particular that we're gonna talk about. I am just curious where you are right now, what's happening in your life. And this is literally a catch up.
Ooh. Wow. Oh, that's a big question right now because, or a big answer. Maybe. There are so many good things happening in my life right now, Gigs. It's crazy. Boy, where to begin?
The beginning.
At the beginning. Well, as I was thinking about doing this podcast with you, I kept on just reflecting back to where we started.
Mm.
And in Beyond Limits course with Em and Scott and all that we've been through. That was we started that course pre-COVID. We went through COVID during that course.
Oh wow, maybe you did. I'm not sure if I start it. I did, didn't I? I can't
Yeah,
even remember. Oh my God. That's
yeah,
such a long time ago.
it was that long ago. I just compared to then, I just feel like I'm a million percent different person.
Hmm.
I'm a million percent different. I mean, there's for instance, I didn't even prepare for this podcast. And when I was you probably remember during our big long Zoom calls that we had with Beyond Limits, I overthought everything.
Wow.
I overthought and freaked out and had anxiety and worry and that just isn't there right now, which is an
Wow.
amazing thing. I mean, it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I could say it was like a snap of the fingers to get there, but it has been a journey. Like you said, it has been a ride.
I mean, if you think about it, considering we just said like, it's been that long ago, it has been a snap of a finger because we can't remember what's happened in between that
Yeah,
much.
I know. Isn't that wild? It
Oh
is.
my God, it's just mind-boggling.
And when we were in that course 3 years ago or whatever it was,
Poor.
we four wow, we were we were manifesting stuff like this.
Mm.
You know, we're
Mm-hmm.
thinking, what does your future self want to do? Well, I want to do a podcast without even thinking about it. I
Mm-hmm.
want to do a podcast with a friend, and here I am right now doing a podcast with a friend.
Wow.
So the future really is now, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the is right now. That
It,
that part's really wild, and you know,
I mean, it's so funny because I didn't see myself doing this. And I say this to everybody that's been on so far. I'm like, this is not something that I saw myself doing. It's not something that I necessarily wanted to or strive towards, but it just came online, one day.
yeah,
And I'm like, I might as well just put it out. And I've noticed it does me a lot of good, especially in these moments, because I feel like I'm
yeah,
very much in my head lately. The overthinking part, but the overthinking from I don't even know where the overthinking is coming from because my life seems to go down the direction of reintegrating very much into the 3D world, and I think there's a part of me that's fearful that I'm going to lose my 5D reality somewhat, which is like so dumb because I know that's not possible.
yeah.
I'm way past that. I'm way past the forgetting what I already know. But it's still a thought in my head sometimes. So anyway, I think part of me needed to get that off my chest because
Yeah.
because I've noticed I'm on my own quite a lot and thoughts go around in my head a lot, and I know it
Right.
helps. It helps to
It
sometimes
is.
just get them
It,
out.
well, and the big thing is, you asked what's going on in my life right now. I'm using my voice more.
Mm,
Just, I mean, you're using your voice,
yeah.
and that a long time because I do a podcast as well. And when I when we were doing that course 3 years ago, it took me. I edited each podcast probably 200 times because
Wowza.
it'd be perfect, and I wouldn't let myself just like I would edit little ums and ahs out, and now that's not authentic.
Mm,
feel the authenticity a lot differently now that I've learned more about who I am.
What's your podcast called, by the way?
How you really doing? How
Oh,
you
yeah.
really
Yeah.
DOIN at the end.
Mm-hmm. So is that like on a platform or anything, or are you doing it YouTube
Uh,
based or?
yeah, it's on Apple. It's on Apple podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
and I just did my most recent podcast with friends of mine, Robbie Blair and Lala Deaton,
Mm-hmm.
and I just got my first podcast on YouTube. I haven't done that. I've been doing my podcast for 10 years, gigs, and I've never put it on YouTube. So I was able to do that this time.
Whoa, was it like recorded like a video as well, or?
Zoom call.
On a Zoom. That's so cool. It's so
Yeah.
interesting because in my head, like I know even Isis Lauren, right? Because she was on one of my episodes as well, and she's had a podcast for about 6 years as well, from what she said. And the same thing on, I don't even know on what platform she had it out. And I'm like thinking to myself, why am I jumping straight head first? You know,
Right. Right.
everybody, but I feel like this is somewhat that part of me that doesn't mind being seen, whether it's
Right.
the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. I am all up for that, for letting it all out. And like you were saying, like the editing part of things, because I edit all my shit.
Right.
And
Right.
I love that part. It's like it's my baby, it's my little baby. So I love
Yeah.
doing all that, and I leave it as is. Okay, if it's like a break of I got a burp or whatever, I'll probably edit that one out. But
Yeah. That is the beauty of editing, is that you can take burps out. So that's not a problem. But
burps
it is.
part.
Yep. Burps and farts gone, and it is nice to be authentic though, and just let it
Mm,
flow for me. And that's something that I really have been wanting to step into for a long time. So it's very cathartic to
mm,
do a podcast. And I find that when I have a goal to do something, I'm more motivated. And like getting on this podcast today, I was very motivated today. I've been tired. I've been overcoming myself over and over again. And I just kept on thinking, I really want to show up. I
mhm.
want to be gigs and I want to have fun. And so I feel energized right now.
I love that. It's doing the same for me, by the way, because same energy, tired and lethargic, like
Yep.
literal. And I even had the thought that where's gigs? Like I even thought to myself, where has gigs gone? Because this is just beyond anything. So
Mm,
now, because I don't know who's watching this, right? I never know. And people don't know who I am. They don't know who you are. Maybe they do. Who
right.
knows? Would you mind sharing some of your story? I don't know, as much or as little as you want to share, because to me it's so inspirational. Like the whole the whole lot of it. It's so fucking inspirational. So yeah. If not, you can tell me whatever else. You can share whatever else, but it's I would love it
What,
if you did.
when you asked me to do this podcast, I've been wanting to do a podcast with people, and again, it's this is practice for me to
Mm-hmm.
tell my, because every time I do, it's how am I going to change the perspective of the way it used to be? And I sure don't tell my story the way I used to. I mean, my story has changed so much. The long and short of it is, doctors diagnosed this body with multiple sclerosis when I was 28 years old in 1998. And I had been married for 2 years, did not have kids at that time. I was working a ton. I was commuting. I was stressed out. And I went on, with multiple sclerosis for a long time. And it progressed slowly at first. And I was able to manage, the symptoms, and I was able to manage, but it was hell. The drugs I was on, there was the very first drug I was on. You know what? It doesn't even matter. That was a long time ago. Doesn't matter. But it was hell. And I'm allowing myself to say that now. I didn't used to say that. I used to, like, I wouldn't even admit that I had MS.
Mm.
And now it's about allowing, and it's about just seeing the beauty in it all. Things did have progressed for me. I'm now in a wheelchair, and paralysis has, this is about my movement right now. I am left-handed. My right hand isn't moving very much. Because of this work, I know I'm going to get out of this wheelchair. I know that I'm going to walk, and I know that that looks a lot of different ways,
Mm.
because I am healed in so many ways from where I've been, and I've been in I just realized recently, really, I grew up with narcissists and I was raised by narcissists. Just realizing how much that stifled my voice and the belief system that it instilled in me for, those critical years from 0 to 7. I was adopted. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 4. My sister was a bully. I'm just now realizing, I'm 54 years old now, just now realizing how much that has impacted me because I've been quiet
Mm,
and add, I guess insult to injury in a way is that I married my sister because that's what I knew. And
mm,
that feels like a kick in the gut to say, but it's true.
yeah.
And I've lived with narcissism until I left about 8 years ago and got out of a relationship that just my heart knew that it wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a life coach and I told her at that time, I said, I have a black hole in my heart and I don't know how to fill it. And I couldn't find my way. I was trying everything, I did all the modalities, tried all the different things, especially from a Western medicine standpoint,
Yeah.
but it never, in my mind, I always was looking for more. I ended up getting a divorce and separating and in 2000, let's see, I think that was 2016. It was a long process. We still own a business together, lots of stress. I went from being in a walker. When I lived in the house, I was using a walker and getting around. Okay, I could still move my legs, and the paralysis wasn't there as bad. I went to a scooter, and then in 2017, I was in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And stress, I think, is the number one cause of disease. It is the stress, and I don't believe in chronic disease. I don't believe in chronic illness. I believe in chronic emotion. And
Mm-hmm.
we know from the work that we're doing that emotions create chemicals, chemicals affect the body. And so I was addicted to the hormones of stress,
Mm-hmm.
I think my whole life, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't know any better. I didn't know what it was like to be on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding myself. I have found myself and I've healed myself emotionally on so many levels. It's all about peeling the onion back. And I've peeled and peeled and peeled. And I really, I think gigs that life can be simplified into 2 words: keep going. Just keep going because that's what I've had to do. And when times are tough, it's keep going and find the tools that you need to get you to the next spot you want to be. And
Mm-hmm.
the big tool for me was finding Dr. Joe Dispenza in 2019, 5 years ago. It was about 5 years ago,
Wow.
and that all that resonated with me. All of a sudden, somebody was speaking my language, and I just feel, as a lot of us do, that I didn't belong for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I know now that that emotion of not belonging, that fear of not belonging, that's where disease comes from. And that's all stored in my body. So I've released a lot of energy in the last 5 years. Breath work. I am doing a breath work. I'm in a group with a guy by the name of Leland Holgate, and his group's called the Willful Warrior. And he has overcome paralysis twice, and all through breath work and yoga and meditation. And so I've met a lot of people on my journey, and I tried a lot of different things, and I'm I'm finding myself. 3 years ago when I was in the group with you, I couldn't sleep through the night. We would always get challenges, and my challenge was to sleep out in the kitchen, like sleep someplace different, to get
Yeah.
out of the bed. And it was so hard for me to do because of all the safety issues that I felt and feeling, all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now I sleep in my kitchen every night. That's where I sleep. And and my body is moving so much better than it did then. Even though there's more numbness, we just know that the body is the last to heal.
Yeah.
So I've healed emotionally. I've healed so much spiritually. I mean, I found my spirituality. I found God. I found what that means to me. I actually went to church for a little over a year and got baptized again
Wow.
and went down that route, and then found out that that's not what I believe. They believing that God is outside of us, and we know now that God is inside of us. And so I found that I built more of a foundation for myself than I've had in my life. and that foundation is now, it's a bedrock. It's bedrock for me to stand on and to speak from. There was a point in time where I couldn't say my ex-wife's name, Natalie. Like it would cause me so much anxiety even to say her name.
Wow.
And recently, we get along now and we're co-parenting in a really good way. And we can't change the people around us, but I've changed tremendously, and it is changing my family as well.
Mhm.
My two girls and my ex-wife, and that has changed so that the energy that I'm living in is different. And I'll tell you what, it's hard. That's one thing that's been hard to get used to, is because it feels so different than the way I've lived my life.
Mm.
You know, we want to be this future self that I envision, and then I realize I've never been that person before. It's what I've always been aiming for. It's where my heart has always been taking me. But man, I got lost for a long time.
Mm. I so resonate with that because it's something it's see, I love how these conversations happen exactly when exactly when they're supposed to, because I feel the same. I feel like I have to bring myself back every day, quite
Yeah,
often throughout the day, to what would me in the future do, because many times I ask myself, what would this person do? What would that person do? But what the fuck would I do?
right.
If
Yeah,
I lived that life of that person that I want to be, what would I do in that energy? How would I sort situations around for myself? So remembering the future is next level skill,
yeah,
right? because
yeah,
because it's already happened, and for me in particular, it just brings me that relief feeling. It's just like, oh, because there's worry, 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 stress, stress, stress.
yeah.
Can you hear the alarms outside? I don't know if you can hear them.
I can't.
That's so funny as I'm saying
Where
that. Worry, worry, stress, stress, and the
that
alarm
alarm,
goes off.
that
That's so funny. And then I have to remind myself that that's just what I'm living right now is a reflection of my past, of past decisions, past
right, right, right.
whatever choices that I've made. So can I just be happy where I am with the decisions that I've made? I wanted to ask you, because when you were talking in all your story, two things that crossed my mind. One of them is, how many Joe Dispenza retreats have you actually been to? Because I know you've been to quite a few. And then the second one would be, how do you experience, because you spoke about releasing energy, right? And
Yeah,
releasing, I imagine, and I know from the things that you've shared previously, there's ways in which you receive as well. So it's not just releasing, there's receiving that's happening too. So would you kindly share?
yes. Yeah, there's tiny questions there. Not much to talk about in those two questions at all. So I have now been, and this is amazing to me, I've now been to 8 Dr. Joe events. I'm planning my ninth, to go to the 10-day Cancun event in December of 2024. So that
Ooh.
is, and as we know, I'm manifesting abundance right now to get there, because I don't know quite how that's going to happen, but I have found a way. I can't believe that I've been to 8 events. I honestly can't believe it, because when I went to my first event in 2019 in Cancun, I had never flown in a wheelchair before,
Mm.
and I went by myself to that event, and it still blows me away.
I
You know,
gotta,
I
I
went.
gotta, I gotta get the giggles out because I can't.
Yeah,
Nobody's ever flown in a wheelchair. Nobody's done that, so you are extra fucking special, sir.
my wheelchair. Yeah, I didn't even use a plane. I just flew in my wheelchair.
Straight in there. Oh, God, I had to get it out.
Man, everything's possible. Everything is possible. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, continue.
Yeah, so that was there's a reason we call you Giggles. Thank you.
I'm gonna crack. I'm gonna crack up with this one for a while now. Oh my God, I can't. It's still extra bracket in here. I am so grateful for this moment.
Yeah.
But the fact that you just said that, because it's giving me all these giggles energy
Yeah.
right now. Oh
Yeah.
my God, that was just magical.
Oh, the Giggles energy. Good.
Cancun, 2019.
Yep. 2019. I went by myself to this Dr. Joe event, but I say I was not alone because I had everybody in my head. I was so in my head. I was so worried about everybody else that the night times by myself was a very dark night of the soul. I'm just amazed that I've gone to 8 events now, and they get easier. And I've changed my environment so much in my life that I now have I have a full time caregiver that lives with me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a beautiful story in its own right, because we started off not getting along for at least a year, and now we get along so amazingly well that we're both on this journey together. And I
Wow.
asked, I mean, you were in the groups when you saw me with my caregiving woes and worries, and I have created an atmosphere where I now have a really good team of people around me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even take a shower when I was in that group 3 4 years ago, and now I'm getting in the shower regularly with two women. I get to shower with two women on a regular basis, so that's a good thing, right? How cool is that?
Whichever way you look at it, how can it not be?
Right,
This
right.
is so good.
I
I love this.
shit, that's a guy's fantasy that's been around forever, and now I'm getting so yeah,
Damn right it is. You're living your best life, Sarah.
living my best life now, giggles.
Oh my God. That's so good.
Yeah, and every Dr. Joe event I go to is better than the last. My
Hmm.
most recent San Diego advanced follow up, and I had more fun at that event. I let go more at that event than I any of the others.
Mm.
I was in my wheelchair hauling ass around these tables, like out in the everybody was gone on the way to the walking meditation, and I was just cruising like 6 miles an hour, going around these tables and just laughing and having
Oh,
fun and dancing and my meditations have changed a lot they've I'm not overthinking them as much. I'm getting in the void easier
mm, mm,
and learning to trust myself. That's a big one, is learning to trust, learning to surrender. And the big thing Dr. Joe talks about, it's not about the healing, it's about the change that takes place.
yep.
And so, as we talk about our future selves, I've got that vision of my future self standing on stage at a Dr. Joe event, giving my testimony.
Mm, mhm,
And I go there a lot. I also go to the dance floor at those events because I love the dance floor. And feeling those emotions is critical because I'm in a wheelchair and that's not what I'm feeling. However, that is what I want to feel. And so I need to bring that into my body now. That is a great segue into releasing energy, because I have released so much energy that now I can feel a higher vibration entering into my body, because I didn't have room. I didn't have space for it before. There was so much congested energy, so much trauma, so much old past bullshit that I just didn't have room for it. And so I've released a lot of energy, and it's gone in stages actually. And you and I, for a while there, I think you and I were releasing energy in a lot of the same ways,
mhm,
because there was one breathwork session I remember. This is 4 years ago, but with M was doing breathwork, and we were on Zoom, and she said after the session, she goes, "Jim and Giggles, you guys need to talk,
mhm.
because whatever was happening, you guys were both doing the exact same movements at the exact same time." And this was from Washington in the United States to England. We
Yeah,
were like, we were in sync. We were in sync.
yeah.
And at that time, I would move a lot of energy, and my body would shake more. Yeah, I'd get shakes, and some my body was moving better or more back then, but my arms would be flailing and moving around, and so I release energy that way. I don't move as much. It doesn't seem like anymore. And somebody told me, I asked about that, and they said, "Well, your meditation is mature. You mature."
It's see, it's I was wondering, see, whether you're gonna say something about it because same. I've noticed whenever I do breath work now, it's very rarely that it goes to that extent. But I totally believe
Yeah,
that just like you, like anybody else that goes through this, where there's a lot of, when you have a lot of pent up energy and you've got a
yeah,
little bit of a crack in there. That's what she said.
but
And then
don't.
there's a little bit of energy coming out, and then it explodes, and then it kind of settles down because there's a lot of is being released and is being transmuted and alchemized and whatever the fuck else happens with this energy,
Right.
so that
Right.
our bodies don't react the same, and we're able and capable to hold more light in. Because
Yes.
yeah, go on.
Yeah. No, that you nailed it. And I'm really glad I know that now, because
Mm.
it's very easy to doubt in this process, because we're doing the impossible. I mean, we
Yeah.
are doing the impossible. I am going to walk out of this wheelchair, and the doctors say that's impossible, but I know that it is not. It is possible. I
It,
am possible.
it's totally possible, and I'll tell you why, because I saw it, because you just mentioned that breath
Yeah.
work that we've done. I mean, we've done two, I think, on that occasion. And I remember on the second one, after Em had told us that, look, you guys were moving the same, I had this vision of you hugging me, but you were standing up and hugging me and telling me it really was like it was as simple as this as soon as I just got out of my own way. So I know it's possible. I'm holding that vision too, because I can.
Yeah,
Because
and
I can.
I remember you saying that, and
Yeah.
I've thought about that many times since then, because you said that I said
Yes.
it's so simple. And there's been times in meditation since then that it is. It's like I get to a point in my meditation, I'm like, oh my God, this is so easy. Why have I been making it so difficult? And then I open my eyes and I forget what I just did, you know.
Oh my
And they,
God.
but that has happened hundreds of times where it's like, oh my God, why am I making this so difficult? And we get in our own ways. I mean, that's just what we do. I've been very good at it, and I'm getting also very good at getting out of my way and receiving and letting love in is
Mm,
something that I'm finding that I haven't been very good at. Well, let me take that back. I don't want to say it that way. I'm finding that I've been very protective over the years, because I needed to be, to protect myself, my heart.
mm-hmm,
And so I have unwound a lot of layers from my heart, and that's no small feat either, because that's scary. And now it's nice, because the things that used to scare me don't scare me anymore. They just don't scare me. They're not an issue. The things that, oh, there's just so many things that were issues for a long time. And I just keep on stepping into them. Yesterday I needed to make a phone call to somebody, and my caregiver was standing right there with me. And it was this phone call with somebody that I didn't really want to talk to. And it was kind of a strained topic. And I stood up for myself, so much so that Julie's like, who in the hell are you? Who is that person talking on the phone? And I'm like, yeah, watch out. I'm going to kick your ass too. And it just didn't bother me like it used to. Like, I had no anxiety about what I said, because I deserve to say what I need to say.
mm,
I let other people could say their shit, but I couldn't say mine. And that's just not true. And I just don't allow that in my life that way anymore.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So that is healing. I mean, that is huge healing. The other day, a couple weeks ago, I have a 22 and 23-year-old daughters. My youngest daughter came over, and she's been going through a really hard time in her life. And we actually cried about the divorce for the first time. I mean, I haven't allowed myself to cry with my daughters.
mm-hmm,
And so that was so healing for me, for her, and for my ex-wife, for my other daughter, because
mm-hmm,
it's learning how much I kept shit in. And my family sweeps things under the rug.
mm-hmm,
Just it didn't happen. The next day it's just gone. And so I've held all that energy in all this time. And so it has come out in a lot of different ways. One thing that has been happening for a while now, actually, is I speak a light language, is what I call it. Or and it comes out of me in a different language, and I can't duplicate it. It comes out, and sometimes it has sounded oriental, sometimes it sounds mean, sometimes it sounds like a warrior, sometimes it sounds
wow.
very nurturing, sometimes it's Spanish. It comes out in all kinds of different ways. Sometimes I think it's galactic, like I don't know what it is. I've talked to my friends that speak light languages, and she's like, don't try to understand it, just let it flow. And I feel like now that's an energy release for me. It's
Mm-hmm,
like It's coming out of my vocal cords, and your vocal cords are the way your heart expresses itself. And so when as I'm expressing my heart, I'm also speaking this light language and letting it out.
I mean, you said I'm thinking because of the podcast, and the way that the way that you put yourself out, because your truth, your knowledge, whatever, it's you after all, right? And being your
I,
most authentic self, your most
yeah,
authentic version, speaking it as it comes, and that's one of it by the sound of it. I mean, I've heard quite a
yeah.
few people say this lately, and it's interesting because I've not experienced it yet. I'm saying yet because who knows? Who the fuck knows anymore? But then, see, I've gone to a point now where with breathwork in particular, there are certain sounds and certain uh, I don't know, melodies that are in the breathwork that I
Oh,
do because of course I do soma. I do soma. Soma
yeah.
breathwork is it's mine because it's music. I think it's the music. I totally believe that I've got a thing with music in general. And as you're describing, like you're speaking languages, for me it's movement with my hands, with my body. And it
Oh,
literally feels, I remember I heard in one of the breathworks that I did, it feels like molding reality, into existence. It's
mm,
birthing it that way through the energy of my body. And more often than not, lately, I've noticed when I meditate, I tend to do mudras, which I knew there's something to them, but I've never
mm,
kind of worked with them. So I don't know, more recently they keep showing up for me. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna use them. And the one that I use the most lately is the feminine one, which is kind of like
yeah,
so.
yeah, like that.
Because it's oh my God, for so many reasons for me, because it's the feminine energy, which is something that I want to work with a lot because I feel like first of all, look, I'm even doing giving myself a thumbs up with that.
Yeah, you got that. That was good.
First of all, because I'm a woman in this incarnation, and I would love to fully express that part of me, the feminine part of me.
Yeah,
Also, feminine means receiving too. And I feel like even though I've been given all my life, and maybe not all the times have been given out of a full cup, maybe they've been given out of martyrdom or whatever. But it feels like even once I got to a point of giving out of my fullness, I kept giving, and I'm like, okay, I think it's time. It's my turn in my life, in this lifetime. It's
yeah,
that season of my lifetime when it's time to receive. And I'm finding it very difficult, I've noticed, So the change in the story of that is just like you were saying with the love. The change of the story is I am opening up more and more, and I'm allowing love to come in whichever way it shows itself up, and receiving whatever shows up for me. So I don't even
yeah.
know where I was going with that, but it's a stepping in the feminine energy, more.
Well, you just said a lot there that there's so many things to talk about. um, the one that I feel like bringing up is you had said that I've never felt it, like you've never felt that authenticity, and I wanted to ask you if you
What
have
did you
felt it.
what did you hear? Because I don't remember saying I didn't feel the authenticity. This is
Like,
interesting.
you're like, that's feeling it, and you said something about feeling it. It was early on in what you were saying, and
Interesting.
I guess I think you were talking about the podcast and being able to speak authentically,
Mm,
or I forget kind of, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm realizing for myself recently
mm-hmm,
that what I have been feeling is it, more than I thought it was.
mm,
Like in my breath work, I go to some really amazing places,
mm-hmm,
and yet I'm realizing I had been fighting it. Like, I don't know if this is what it is. I don't know. Is that really? I'm like asking questions while I'm there and doubting it while I'm there. And so why not just choose to be there?
mm,
And I told my friend, a good Dr. Joe friend that has amazing visions, and I told him, because I see a lot of like space stations and mechanical things and screws and just metal and sharp edges a lot. And I was talking about that, and he goes, "Well, what's wrong with that?" And I said, "I don't know. It doesn't feel like rainbows and unicorns." He goes, "Maybe that's not what you're supposed to see. Maybe that's not." And and for a while, I really saw a lot of insects,
Wow.
and yeah, and so what I'm realizing now is that whatever's coming to me is the way it's supposed to be coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to control it. Imagine that, being in survival mode and trying to control.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to control it because I thought I had to. And what if we just let it flow? What if I just let it flow? And I can't do this anyway. I'm just not that good. I can't make this all happen. So it's about opening up and letting the divine in.
Oh my God. You are just honestly, like, I don't know. I do know. I do know. I do know. We are in stages of expansion that are so similar, like this thing of
Yeah.
allowing it to flow through. And because you said it's not, I can't do this on my own. Same. I have come to the realization and understanding that as much as we say that we create our own reality, which us as whatever we do, like the whole being of whatever we are, but it's not just me or just you, it's both of us, and we're co-creating, where we're allowing that flow of life, that flow of existence of the divine, of God, of the universe, creator, source, to
Yeah.
flow through us. And because we don't
Yeah.
have any control, and it's, of course, control is the thing. That's what's
Yep.
been showing
Yep.
for me as well quite a lot
Yep.
lately in my life, so much externally, that because of course it's inside of me, so I didn't get it inside of me, and the universe is like, bitch, look, this is what you're doing.
Yep.
This is what you're doing and not paying attention. Yes.
Yeah.
So of course, when you wake up to that, it's like, oh my fucking God, what am I doing to myself again? What situations am I putting myself into? What am I
Yeah.
allowing? I feel like I've got control over all of this. No, I don't. No, I do
No.
not.
And you know what? We don't want to.
Yeah.
We can't do all this. I can't make my heart beat and my
Mhm.
lungs breathe. And I can't do that. But for the longest time I thought I had to. And I'm just now, I mean, shit, I'm 54 years old. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, this growing up thing is pretty cool when I wish I would have done it earlier. Take
Oh my God.
but being able to, and that's the thing, is that, and my relationship with Julie, my live-in caregiver, she has she grew up Mormon, and she has a very, very interesting story and take on things, and it's just been very enlightening to share our viewpoints on everything. And she, because she sees me, I mean, all the time, and she has noticed, or something really good happened recently, and something really good happened, and I was excited telling her about it, and she goes, "Jim, this is when the Holy Spirit is flowing through you.
Mm,
That excitement you have right now, the inspiration that you're in right now, that is the Holy Spirit." And I didn't know that's what it was. And now that I notice, I'm like,
mm.
I let that in more. I
It's
let that inspiration in more. And it's not this great big explosion where all of a sudden I turn into a light being and I start floating around like flying a wheelchair to San Diego.
that might happen sooner or later. You never know. It's a
I'll just
possibility.
I'll just oh oh shoot, I forgot what I was saying now.
You were saying about the Holy Spirit flowing through
Okay.
you. And
So, and that's why I was asking you, maybe you have felt it flow through you,
Mhm,
because I know a lot of experiences, and you and I we are on parallel paths.
mhm,
And I'm bringing that up for you and for me and for anybody listening, that when you pay attention to those little things and they do notice and give yourself credit for that we're doing a lot of work. There's a
mm.
lot happening. My body is changing a lot.
Oh my God, dude. Like, honestly, when you go through a stage of whatever the fuck you can call this, dark night of the soul, dark
Yeah,
night of the
yeah,
ego, because the
yeah.
soul is being remembered, the ego is the one that's going through the shits, right?
Right. And
And it feels like this is what has been happening, and I forgot. It feels like I forgot so much. It feels like I get so wrapped up in in my head quite a lot because, of course, that's what I do as a
Yeah.
recovering overthinker. Get so much in my head, and then I forget all this stuff. I forget that there's there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's more to all this than what I see, and all the little problems that all the little boxes that I put myself into, because it feels like I have made myself extra fucking small lately. That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm just who am I? Like, besides the fact that I've moved so many times in the past, I don't know, maybe over half a year now, maybe 9 months. In the past 9 months, I've been moving like a motherfucker. So because I can tell from if I zoom out somewhat, there's so much that's changing inside of me, outside of me, on other frequencies, levels, whatever, that my external environment is going to have to reflect that somewhat. So it's interesting because it goes back to my name too. I've got so many names, and so many people know me by so many names. I feel like this is why I keep moving about as well. And this is, by the way, this is connection that I made in my brain today. This is
Oh,
new. This is fresh. Until I decide on one name to use for myself and embodying that fully,
mm,
I'm gonna keep moving externally too, because there's a lot of chaos. But then there's also this other lens on it of there's all this ascension that's happening globally. Like the whole earth is just going
yeah,
through something.
yeah.
That maybe that's why I feel some days like there's no hope. Like, honestly, there are days when I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Waking up and thinking, what is this? I do the same thing day in, day out, waiting for something. In this moment in particular, I'm waiting to start work, which for me is so mind-boggling that I'm
Mhm.
reintegrating in the 9 to 5 system. To me, it's like, what step in my consciousness is this? But it seems like it's a step that I am supposed to be taking.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, just there's a lot of that going on.
Well, we are on parallel paths because I'm talking to somebody right now about stepping back into the workforce myself.
Oh my God.
So look at that. Look
What
at
if
that.
there's any signier sign than this?
Right. You can't get any signier than that.
No, you can't. This is it. This is the signiest of signs. Because
Yeah.
I keep thinking, I'm asking myself, why am I here? Why am I back here? Why am I back at this stage in my life? Why am I in the town that I lived for so long that I wanted to move out of? And it's interesting because even in here, I am not in the same places that I lived before, and I am
Right.
not meeting the
Right.
same people that I met before,
Yeah.
which of course it's showing me that I'm not on the same
Wavelength.
vibration that I
Right.
was when I lived in here before. Yes.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking, okay, I know somehow why I'm reintegrating in that part. It's because I need to accept that there is such a thing of going to a job for that. In my case, it would be for being outside of the house, for meeting new people, for connecting with people, for humility, for seeing people for where they are, for accepting everybody for where they are, for knowing that we're all on our journey, regardless of the stage of awareness that we're at, because that's what's been showing for me. This is what I'm learning out of this. I need to accept that this is what's happening right now. This
Wow.
is the stage of life that I'm at, and this is the one that I'm going to follow without the resistance of I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
That teenager self of fuck you. I
Right.
don't want to get into the system. So holy moly, I'm talking a lot. Check me out.
Check me
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So there's your sign, your sign.
Yes. That's tiny sign. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
wow. I love your awareness of, that until I choose a single name,
Mm-hmm.
because our external environment is a sign of our internal environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until I get rid of these piles around my desk that have been there forever, that would signify to my body that I'm
Yeah.
ready to move and create space.
Yeah.
It's little like that for me is a little thing, but it's been there my whole as long as I can remember. I've always
Wow.
had a place that needs taken care of, and used to it that is an addiction, I think. And so this summer, I'm looking at a space right now that I cleaned off, and it feels really freaking good because that's we got to keep on changing
Mm.
again and again and again and again, and that's what you're doing.
I don't know if
And
you remember on one of the calls, sorry to interrupt you. On one of the calls, I remember I told you you need to change furniture in your room, remember?
yep, yep,
Because
and
that's my superpower. I think I don't lack in that respect of moving stuff about and getting rid of shit. Like my life right now is in a big suitcase and in a smaller suitcase.
wow,
That and I would get rid of those too, but I need to wear. I can't
yeah, you
walk
got
around naked, so I need to wear some clothes. But at the same time, that is my superpower. I just get rid of shit as soon as I possibly can. So I remember telling you that because I could see the benefit of that, and I wanted you so
yeah,
badly to see it, which of course there's just my fucking ego in there. But I
yeah,
wanted you so badly because I know the benefit in it. I know how much it just does something. There's something in there. So I'm glad you
yeah,
found your little nook and cranny
yeah.
to put your
Well,
shit.
and since then, I have changed every picture in my house, every
Wow.
new, and it's all Dr. Joe stuff. It's like it has taken place in the last 18 months,
Mm-hmm.
and it's my daughter's college graduation last May. That was a huge undertaking for me because all my triggers were there. My ex-wife,
Mm-hmm.
my sister, my in-laws were all going to be there, and so that was a massive thing for me to overcome. And I have the pictures to prove that I did it. I did a beer bong with my daughter at her college graduation.
Oh
That is
my,
a dad's dream. And I
wow.
did that completely spontaneous, completely spontaneous. My
Wow.
ex-wife crowd cheering my name. You can't make that shit up. And
Mm-hmm.
and I now have pictures in my house with my daughter of doing that. And I overcame that trip. That trip was monumental for me because I went in with a vibration that I know that I am, and I said, "Fuck you! Nobody is taking it from me."
Mm-hmm.
Nice is that I showed up with love. I showed up in love, and I that's where I was coming from. I wasn't coming from bitterness. I wasn't coming from resentment or having to prove anything. It was coming from love, and because I want that's how badly I want to change. Is like
Mm.
I'm done with this bullshit of hating
Oh my
and
God.
my own axle because that's where I've been.
I mean, the being in love part. Like, seriously, how many more synchronicities can there be in one day?
Oh, a lot.
How many more sign your signs? Because
Yeah,
when I get very, very low into whatever darkness seems to be covering my brain sometimes,
yeah,
I remind myself, how can I be in love right now? And not, that feeling of being in love with somebody else, that
yeah.
that that being one of it, but it's more being in love, inside of love. So it's that energy of, can I just feel in that vibration, in that frequency, instead of worrying, because or judging or fucking God knows what else. Can I just be in love?
My God. Again, get ready for another synchronicity. Here we
Here we
have
go.
infinite. We can have infinite synchronicities because
Because we can.
that in love part, like you just said about being in love with somebody else,
Yeah.
I've been practicing turning that love feeling for somebody else inward.
Yes. Yes.
And what does that feel like? Because
Yep.
let's say let's say all the physical things happen, and I'm not going to need to find love outside of me. I
Mm-hmm.
need to find it for me,
Mm-hmm.
and then come to me in that way. That is so different than the way I've been practicing my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so beautiful because when we are whole and we're in love with ourselves, every piece of us, all the pieces that we think fucked up, all the pieces that we think were not good enough, and all those pieces, when we love all those pieces, that's wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
And when you love yourself that much, you're going to find somebody in your life. I mean, you're going to be surrounded by it. And look,
Yeah.
you're not the same people in that town anymore.
Yeah.
You're loving yourself to a different vibration. I'm loving myself to a different vibration.
Yeah. That's exactly the exercise that I do. by the way. If I try to bring up an emotion of where I remember being in love, or not necessarily actually being with somebody, but you know when you're walking past, or you're in high school, let's say, and there's this girl, there's this man,
Yep.
boy, whatever, and you're like, oh my God, and you just get that feeling, and it's like, can I feel this? Because I know those feelings are created inside of me. It's not the other person that
Right. Right.
that other person external of me activates something that's already in me. So can I just play with that right now? And this thing of being whole and complete, I walk around. I walk around telling myself that, whenever I can remember, I am whole and complete. I am whole and complete. Because I know if I keep being in the energy of wanting, I'm always going to be in the energy of wanting. And I
Yeah.
must admit, at the moment, the energy of wanting is bigger than the being whole and complete one.
Yeah.
But
And that's a roller coaster.
yeah, yeah. I do totally believe that, as much as I know there's this thing that we all do, we tell the story, right? And we keep telling the same story, and we keep repeating that, and the same emotions and all that stuff. And the more we do that, the more we create that. I also do believe that I don't know what to do when I'm in the shits sometimes. Like, I seriously don't know, because I feel like I many times turn to somebody else, like turn to whether watching podcasts or tools that I've had, tools that I've learned, doing this, applying that, fuck this, fuck that, because none of it is working. There are times when I feel like, okay, I've been in this energy for a while. How do I get myself out of it? And I'm taking those steps to get myself out of it, but it's not happening. So when it gets to that point, I'm like, okay, there's something else at play here. You know what we were saying about we co-create whatever, but there's also something else that's overseeing all of this. I am not in control sometimes of everything that's happening in my life. So there's times when I'm like, okay, well, this is what I feel like right now. And I do have a lot of, like, whenever, I don't even watch Kyle Cease that much, but whenever he comes up on my YouTube, for example, or whatever,
Yeah.
I listen to what he says. And this is one of the things that I really appreciated from him. The fact of, when something shows up and you feel it in your body, allow it to stay there instead of trying to figure out why it's there, where it's
Yeah.
coming from, what you have to do with it, how to sort it out. Just acknowledge it, that it's there, and stay there instead of running away from it or trying to fix it. And more often than not lately, I remember that.
That's a big one,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to sit in it and not run from it, which is what I've always done.
Mm-hmm.
I ran from it. I drank. I drank. I mean, I turned to alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my mechanism, along with many others. Ironically, I'm in a wheelchair right now, so I sit all day, every day, and so now I'm sitting in it. The universe, dude, you're not getting it, so we're gonna sit your ass down until you fucking get it. So now I'm sitting in it again and again and again, and it is.
This is so good.
But even in this wheelchair, I was running. I mean, because in my
Yeah.
mind, I had created so many mechanisms of defense, so many tools, that were unhealthy.
Yes. Yeah.
And I had a fantasy world in my head. I'm realizing a fantasy world in my head that I would go to stay safe,
Mm.
you know, and I'm just now realizing that I still play some of those stories. Like, I still play that record sometimes. And I'm like, I've gotten really good at saying that's not even true anymore. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need to go there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to see it a lot better than I used to. And it's when you're, what is the saying? You can't read the label from the jar.
Mm-hmm.
In it, you're stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my saying. Honestly, see, another synchronicity. This is what I've been using quite a lot lately. That metaphor of, when you're in the jar, you can't see the label.
I say that a lot too.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting to me how this came about, to be honest, how we got together today, and this part of my life and of my journey, because I mean, Estelle tells me quite a lot that I need to get out. I need to get out more, because I've been in, and I go inwards way too much, and I need to expand. And I feel that, there's a part of me that feels that feels the need of connection, let's say. And at the same time, find myself on my own quite a lot,
Yeah.
and not wanting. to go out, even though my only going out means going to for a walk. It's not like I'm inside all the time, but I go out every day. But I don't go out with people. I don't go out meeting people. I don't go. So there's that part of me that's like, okay, this is what this stage in my life is right now. The needing to go without. I have gone within enough now. Can I expand outside? And it's wow, did I speak about this in one of my rants? Because as you know, this is a two-way conversation, but it's also a monologue sometimes. I don't know if you know, by the way, because I've done a few episodes when it's been just me talking to myself.
Yeah.
So, so I think I said something in one of those about getting stuck in the healing. Because that's what going inwards kind of does. And it's so interesting because I've been saying that quite a lot, and then I thought, oh, this is something that I talk about. Maybe it's something that's inside of me. Maybe I got stuck in my own healing. Finding something else to fix. Finding something else to, oh, why is this showing up in my life? Fuck that, no more. Move on. And I feel like at this point in my life right now, I don't even know, because I've been thinking, what can I do besides breathwork ceremonies? I don't feel like there's a course inside of me anywhere that I could put out, because I feel like the world is saturated with courses of life coaches and all that stuff. Maybe one day that path will unfold for me too, maybe not. In the meantime, life is like, you got to do this part now, besides this that we're doing here, but the go into a normal people's job. Maybe that's
Yeah.
where I find enlightenment. Who the fuck knows? And it's not something that I'm searching for, by the way. I'm not searching for enlightenment in this lifetime. At this point, I feel like connection is what my human self, my higher self, my everything is wanting,
Yeah.
desiring, manifesting, creating.
How does it feel? How does the connection feel?
Well, it feels great because it reminds me every time, like this conversation right now, that we had. It's such a great reminder for me. This is
Mhm.
partly why I used to go and watch podcasts quite a lot, because, oh my God, I resonate with this and I resonate with that. But then it got
Yeah.
to a point where I'm like, where is my inner guidance? You know, how can I tap into that part within myself instead of listening to everybody else on the side? And thinking everybody else knows better than me, because
Right.
I
Right.
might
That's
I
yeah.
might turn. Sorry.
That's huge. Thinking that everybody
Yes.
else knows you is
Yeah.
a big hurdle.
Yeah, because for me, I know that even though sometimes I have the God complex that I know better than other people, there are times when I'm like, I am in this part of my life where I'm like, what the fuck do I do? Who do I ask? And I reach out to people and I'm like, okay, do I resonate with this? So there's so much gold in whatever people have to offer.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't mean that if it's worked for them, it's going to work for me, or to take it fully as truth. Can I still filter it through my own experiences, through my own body? Does this resonate with me? Is this something that I want to do? If yes, let's go on that path. If no, find another one. But still having that, asking myself the questions too, you know, because there are times when for sure they're called blind spots for a reason.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
cannot see our own blind spots, but
And we're stepping into the unknown. And
mm,
we at this point, I believe that you and I are stepping into the unknown, into an area that we want to go, but we've never been there before.
yeah,
I mean, have you ever been right here in your life before?
no.
I know that I haven't, and I've never been this far on my healing journey before. I know that. And I have changed so many things that feels weird. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's days where I'm like, I find myself, because I'm an overthinker like you, and I'm addicted to sitting and thinking. Now, I literally sitting and thinking. That's what I do. And so I'm finding ways to, like, when I see myself just sitting and thinking, what can I do? I got to move. I got to change something. I got to change a little something right now. And it's just that, so it's moment by moment. And I recently I got bladder stone surgery and got bladder stones removed, and I've been having UTIs over and over and over again, and I've been so friggin' dilapidated and tired for so long, and I'm starting to feel great again.
Mm,
And right now, my energy is really good. I am starting to feel things come back online, and yet I'm not going too fast because I'm integrating. And I'm different now than I was. It's like let it come in, and then I kind of process it, and I allow myself to sleep if I want to sleep. And I've been sleeping until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been sleeping like 15 hours a day,
Wow.
which now I think that it's my body catching up, because for years, like when I was on the course with you, I couldn't sleep. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would sleep 2 hours at a time, and then I would wake up with such bad anxiety and fear, a major fear that I just don't have anymore. Yeah, I'm allowing myself to sleep, because when does the body heal? While you're sleeping.
It's,
So
you
I'm
know,
giving my body that respite.
oh my God, I love that for you because it feels like I got to a point where that's what was happening for me too. I would just, feel like I got to a point where I just felt safe,
Yeah,
externally and internally. It actually internally took me a while because that's exactly what I used to happen. I used to wake up through the night startled, and then couldn't go back to sleep. And then I would wake up in the morning very early and get out of bed and gotta do something. There's nothing to do, go back to sleep. And it took me a while. It took me over a year and a half maybe. And now it feels like I'm back to that part. It feels like there's a part of me that doesn't feel safe at all. And literally today, I had this feeling of, I am done adulting. Like, honestly, I had that thought of, can somebody else be the adult? Can
yeah,
somebody else come and look after me so I can just go be in my room and cry and sleep and do whatever until I feel ready to come out of this and go into the world? But I need somebody else to take care of the rest. Like, take care of where to live, take care of money, take care of food, take care of
yeah.
all that. It feels like there's a part of me, and now speaking it out loud, I understand what it is. So this is newsflash right now. I have not given that to myself. I have not allowed myself to be held, and to be supported, and even
Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one.
wow. This is what's been happening lately. I've been receiving in forms that I never thought, wow, and I've been guilt tripping myself over it.
Ah, ah.
Because I got to a point and sorry,
Just don't do that. I'll just.
yes,
That's my.
I
Don't
got
do that.
to I honestly got to a point where I had to ask for money. And I have never in my life asked for money because the programming in the back of my head is you have to work for it and you cannot ask because it's shameful to ask. And
Uh,
then you owe people money and all that stuff. And I got to a point where I that's what had to happen. So I asked for money and received it, appreciated it, and learned to see it as that, be grateful for it instead of being guilty about it.
yeah.
So I have been receiving that way. I've had, honestly, up until 2 days ago, I stayed for about 2 weeks in a guest house. B&B, Airbnb, whatever you want to call it. In the UK here, there's places that are called guest houses and they're so cute. Anyway, so spoken to these people, the people that own it, and they gave me a lower rate. They also let me stay there for a few days without paying, and they said you can pay us whenever you can, because, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just that. This is the way in which I'm being held and supported from the external.
Oh,
But can I accept that? Can I receive that?
wow.
Because receiving doesn't have to be insert we tend to see it as it's got to be in this kind of way, I got to receive this and I got to receive that. It's the wants of the ego, of the mind. Can I see this as receiving? This is so good. This is so good.
Is good. Yeah, because. And how does it make you feel to receive? How do you feel receiving?
There's still a part of me that feels guilty about it. It feels not necessarily guilty, but it's the unworthiness because it's like I haven't
Yep.
worked for this.
Yep.
It's the unworthiness. There's that story that it's obviously still going around in my head that you gotta work for it. You can't just get stuff. But then on the other hand, I've been able to, and you probably know this. I used to say this on the Beyond Limits that I manifest things without the need of money, which has shown up quite a lot lately for me. So this is a big one for me. I need to change that story quite a lot because I am worthy to receive. Wowzer.
Absolutely, you are, and so am I.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum,
Mm.
because I have had to learn how to be okay receiving money, because
Mm,
I I get Social Security benefits, and that took me years to be able to ask for that.
mhm,
And it's how I survive now. And I actually have some friends of mine that I call them my benefactors, because they send me money every month.
mhm,
And I've had to get over that fact of needing it.
mhm,
And I still dream about my future self being financially independent.
mhm.
And I am worthy to get a $3 million check in the mail out of the blue sky, or have seven figures in my bank account. I envision that. When I have noticed that when I feel truly worthy, things happen. Like I went
Mhm.
to a Dr. Joe event in Marco Island, and it was a double event. It was a week long, followed up by an advance.
That's when we met.
Where I saw you, yes, that's where I met you for the first time in the 3D. That's absolutely
Yes.
right. But I didn't have the money to go, and
Mhm,
so I remember a meditation where I just let go, and I felt abundance in a way that I wasn't used to it.
mm,
I felt abundance in a way that I wasn't thinking about it, because I'll think about abundance and then I'll think about taxes, or I'll think about, something that doesn't matter. The universe doesn't care about that. It just cares about the abundance. And so I in my meditation, I imagined abundance in a new way. I get off that phone, I get done with my meditation, I get a phone call from a guy that I had done a podcast with in Nashville. He asked me if I will, what my next event was. And I told him what it was. And he said, "Well, how are you going to get there?" And I said, "I don't know. I got to manifest abundance." And he goes, "What if the abundance comes to you right now?" And I said, "Well, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to go." He goes, "Well, Jim, I'm offering you the money to go. I will pay for your trip." He goes, I will pay you X amount for your trip." And gigs, I still said no. I said, "No, that's not." And then I hit myself in the head, luckily, and I said, "Jim, what are you doing?" But I said no
wow.
first. And he goes, "Jim, I'm offering this to you. Do you want to take it?" I'm like, "Yes, I do. Thank you."
Mhm. This is
And
what we do, right? This is
yeah,
what we do. Shoot
and
ourselves in the foot.
when the abundance shows up, we got to take it.
Yeah.
We got to know that we're worthy, and we got to be able to allow it. And I have a team of people around me right now that are helping me in a beautiful way. And so I have the opportunity all the time to allow it,
Mhm,
to not fight it. And it's a practice, because I realize now I can see myself fighting things. I can see the resistance coming in. And then I look at that, I'm like, why is that there? Oh, that's just an old thought. That doesn't even exist anymore.
mhm,
That habit of why I'm not letting that in. And so then I literally have to practice letting it in, because it feels so odd. It's
yeah,
like my body is literally fighting it and saying, "Remember, you got screwed over too many times. Don't do it again." And I'm like, "No, watch." And
yeah,
I'm teaching my body what it's like now to be trusted, and to have trust, and to have somebody listen to my words. And I have great conversations with these people,
mm,
and inspiring conversations, and they understand me, who I am, and they don't argue about it. They don't try to change it. And so that's not what I'm used to.
mhm.
And that's what I want. That's what I desire. And so that's why I will keep on stepping into it.
I mean, you're doing it here, right
Yeah.
now, right here and right now, which is great. Holy moly, I can't tell you. I mean, I can't tell you. Every time there's a s- income stream of more energy coming through, my head is like and I felt it like probably halfway through this. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. Because I can tell that there's expansion happening right now,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this moment. And my head is like, woo. I love it. I love it. It's tiring. So can you please keep it like a bit gentle?
Keep oh roar, would you?
Yes, just keep it in there a little bit. Oh my goodness. Oh wow, it's been nearly an hour and a half, dude.
Wow.
Do you think this is it? Or do you have anything else that you would like to share?
I'm really grateful right now. I just I feel like I'm in a good place in my life, and I'm really grateful to be here. And
Mhm,
I talk about it with my caregiver all the time, what it's like to be aware
mhm,
and to watch things happen. I mean, to see the changes in my daughter, and to see the changes that are happening around me. My ex-wife sent me a text message on Father's Day saying, Jim, you are an amazing dad. The girls know undoubtedly that you are loved, they are loved and supported. Thank you for being that for them.
Wow.
And I didn't think I would ever receive that, ever.
Mhm.
And I'm letting it in.
Mhm.
There's a lot going on right now, and it's about acknowledging it and letting it be good, and
Mhm.
and it's really interesting when we're used to fighting the good. We wanted it so bad, but then we're so used to the bad that we became addicted to those chemicals.
Yeah.
And so now I'm teaching my body what's possible. And my body is catching up to my mind. The yeah, the paralysis is there, and I'm teaching my body what's possible. So
Yeah.
body is catching up to my mind.
Yeah. The body's last one, right?
Yep.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. And on that note, I think I am gonna thank you, sir, for being here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you said yes.
This
This was,
Thank
yeah.
you for asking. I have put a goal out there this year to do 4 more podcasts, and I have certain people that I would love to do a podcast with, and you're my so thank you. And yeah, broke my cherry. Thanks, Gigs. And I this was a really good opportunity for me. This was a challenge for me to just trust myself enough to just talk. And
Yeah,
when
I mean, from my perspective, you've been it feels like it's been very flowy. To me, it's just you and me both. It's just been a great conversation. And
yeah,
it's what I wanted. If I want anything out of this thing, it's for it to be as natural as possible, you
I
know,
agree.
for
And
people
and
to be as relaxed as they can.
and I've had to let myself step into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my podcast, I've been stepping into letting it flow more,
Hmm.
and that's a real sign that I do feel authentic, and I am being authentic with
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
You can edit that out. I just burped. So
I didn't hear it. You're good. We're gonna leave it in there.
all right,
Well,
edit. So,
thank you
but
very much for being here.
thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for the laughs. I always appreciate you. And we didn't once mention squirrels, which is what you and I. Every time we see a squirrel, we I think of you, and
Oh
we
my God.
a while ago. So yeah, so squirrel.
I don't even know how the fuck that started. But how did it start? Because I was in here. I remember I was in here and seeing squirrels and whatever. I don't know how
Yeah,
that started. We
I-
played the game, but it doesn't matter. Squirrels are a
yeah,
thing for us.
yep. Oh, that's
Here's
because
some
I have
squirrels.
3 white squirrels that live behind me.
Oh,
Definitely a thing. I watch the squirrels all the time at my house, and so maybe that's how it started. I don't know.
it's good.
Whatever. It's another signiest of signs.
Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go out now and see a squirrel for sure.
Yes. Thanks so much for having me, Gigs. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Love you.
Bye.